This is the story of about 3 to 4 days of our time in Vietnam. We did a lot here, and not much that was planned before we got there. Kinda made it up as we went, and pretty glad we did. It's a really pleasant weather in Vietnam. It felt like autumn in New Zealand just about. Pretty cloudy, heat's not too bad, and a decent breeze all the time. I think it started raining after we left. Since we were staying in Da Nang, we just had to go and visit the Marble Mountains. And as you approach, you see all these shops adorned with marble statues everywhere. Before you head up the mountain, there is a cave section, as well as that cave climbs up to sort of a viewpoint out to Da Nang. For good luck. And that cave feels like it goes on forever. Though what is cool is that it depicts the sort of the Vietnamese equivalent of heaven and hell. I believe these are Buddhist / Hindu inspired, or they're based on their mythology. And there is some pretty gruesome stuff being displayed on here. To get to the top of the mountain, you've gotta take the elevator, though I suppose you could technically walk up, but you have to buy a ticket either way, so you may as well just buy the elevator. Anyway, the lady at the ticket booth really took priority to tour guides instead of independent people like me, which meant I had to wait, even though I got there before like 3 other people did. Whatever. This place was booming. There was even a school group around, so it was even more booming than usual, I'm sure. But the views here are unforgettable. You get the whole view of Da Nang, but also there are temples everywhere in here, in every nook and cranny. And there are also Vietnamese couples here in Ao Dai, dressed up and having their photos taken in traditional clothing, which was really cool as well. After we were done here, we headed over to Lotte Mart because my friend needed a check-in bag because we bought too many souvenirs. And that was when I discovered that in Lotte Mart there is also Lotteria, a Korean burger place I hadn't been to in ages and have a lot of nostalgia for. And this place has the exact flavors that I remembered. Then of course I had to go get a foot massage because I hadn't had one done since like Cambodia? No. Thailand? It's been like 3 weeks, man. It's too long. Maybe it's been like 1 week. It's still too long. But most places in Vietnam look really shady, like too many young girls sitting in front of the massage places, dressed very revealingly, so I don't want to go in there, but the ones in the mall seemed like it will be safe because they were only doing foot massages. And this was arguably the best foot massage I've ever had. She had a grip strength and she was sweating by the end of it. Mind you, this was easily twice the price I was paying in Thailand, even for a fancy shop, but this was in a mall and all that. I did tip her like 150k dongs though, because she definitely deserved it. Then we headed over to the Ferris wheel. There was meant to be a giant park here, but we could not find the entrance and took about 20 minutes of walking around to find the actual entrance. It looked like the official opening entrance got abandoned or something. Anyway, I don't know. The Ferris wheel was really cool. You could actually just buy the ticket to only go on the Ferris wheel. We weren't that interested in any of the other rides, so we went up there and I was terrified the whole time because I have a very, very bad agoraphobia. This would likely be the highest point in the entire city, at least man-made highest point, I would say. And you could see that a lot of the park looks / feels pretty abandoned. But the rest of the city looks very lively and there's lots of cool lights everywhere. Then we headed over to a night market, which I believe seems to be a victim of the COVID-19 pandemic. There was tons of signs about pickpockets or whatever, but there was no hustlers or even anyone that looked too suspicious because there was barely any stalls set up. It clearly used to be a lot bigger, but it isn't anymore. But this was a pretty good place for dinner, even though I felt a little bit bad for the performers there with the live music because there was very, very few audience. And then it began pouring as it does in Vietnam, so we retired to our hotel rooms. The next day I took a walk around Da Nang in the morning, and man does Da Nang wake up very, very fast. I don't mean early, but it wakes up fast. When I was walking around, things were sleepy, and then it's like in a flick of a moment, everything just stops. Cars everywhere, motorbikes everywhere, and then where the heck are the people coming from? Are they just materializing out of thin air or something? Like, I swear, the street wasn't filled 3 minutes ago, but it is now. Didn't have a lot of time left in Da Nang, so all I did was walk around. I decided to leave the sculptures and the whatnot for next time. Crossing main roads here is rough. There is an unbelievable amount of traffic and not enough red lights. It is anxiety inducing at the least, but if you keep walking at the right time, the bikes kind of move around you. Don't make sudden jerking movements or stop randomly because you got scared halfway through. Then they will hit you. Or at least I haven't seen one yet, but I feel like they would move around you if you keep moving at the same pace that you are already. Also, this is when I realized that a lot of people is going to approach you with a where you from to either sell you stuff or sell you a tour or for any other reasons. If you're too polite, they'll stick to you like gum on pavement. But for the most part, a firm no and a made up thing that you already booked will make them go and find someone else. Our hotel was so good that we decided to come back to it again once we were done in Hoi An, because we had to stay a night in Da Nang to wait for our airplane. It's only about a 45-minute taxi ride to Hoi An after we said goodbye to our friend who was leaving a little early because she was moving countries. Then once we got there, we decided to go get a massage because I can never have enough massages. It was one hell of a massage too, and a lot of deep pressures, hot rocks and tiger balm massage for about 200,000 dongs. I rate this one as one of the best ones I've had so far, and that's including all the ones I've had in Thailand. Then we were off to go and see the sunset. But unfortunately there was too much clouds and you weren't gonna see much of one. So we just kept walking in the direction of anything that looked vaguely interesting. However, the taxi driver dropped us off in the old town proper, and after we crossed the bridge we were inundated with boats and balloons covering the river where there was more of a tourist scene. First was for some street food as we began walking around as we had nothing to eat since breakfast that day. We had some mystery meats on a stick, banh mi, and met a new friend in the meantime. A Australian fella, and I hope he is staying safe. We had some sort of Vietnamese pizza taco thing and some octopus leg on a stick. There was also frogs on a stick, but I'm good. Did meet a guy who wanted to eat one and did encourage him. I couldn't do it myself though. I ate so much, but really the place kind of repeated itself. Pancake ice cream, and so on. There was just not a lot of variety there once you've seen the first 4 stalls. Though the wares were comparable to Thailand, there was just a lot of the same shit and the food choices were just much better at the first night market we went to in Vietnam and Da Nang. In terms of size, it's bigger than Phuket, but of course smaller than Chiang Mai, though that none of the entertainment and none of the variety of food. Just wasn't a lot of creativity here. I think the real highlight of this market isn't the market itself, it's the river streets adorned with the old houses, paper lanterns, and the boats floating up and down the river. Go walk along the river, it's much more than what you'd get from the market. The side street off the river is also way more interesting. There's tons of cool stalls, food places, and a hell of a lot less people hassling you for shit. I would honestly go for it. Even if you aren't buying, just go and have a look. There is even a cultural show, I think, that you can just kinda sit around and watch for no cost of your own. Overall, I'd say the night market on Hoi An itself is a bit of an experience. Especially the area surrounding it. That's the interesting part. Go have a visit, it's cool to see such an old city still bustling and thriving. The next day we had a farming and fishing experience booked. I gotta say I was a bit nervous about this day because I hadn't ridden a bike in well over 15 years and it was meant to be a bike tour. You know what they say about riding a bike, it's like riding a bike. Though, we had a really awesome guide. I believe his name was Gu? I can't actually pronounce it, it's like G and Q at the same time with a U sound. He had a great sense of humor and was very knowledgeable. He talked about how the irrigation for the farming works and who owns the land and how the government distributes the land for the farmers, etc. The land is leased to the farmers for free and all profits to the farmer. However, the government owns the land. The flowers planted for Chinese New Year that was coming up soon, and peanuts for the spring as it grew once a year is the crops that we often saw as we biked along. I was a little unsettling biking through traffic, but my short time in Vietnam I was pretty confident no one would hit me. It's cool to see most houses having little farms and such attached to them so that the people living on them could be relatively self-sustaining. We passed through some cemeteries, or a 1,000-star hotel as our guide called them, as that will be the only number of stars appropriate for the respectful dead. You can always check in, but you cannot check out. The tranquility of the countryside is nicely juxtaposed with my guide's energy. He is fun and very energetic the whole time through. The water buffalo that we got to meet was so gentle. He was about 7 years old and he moves around you gently as you sit on him. Mounting him on a running jump is a fair height though. It was a unique experience just being on him, and given he gets used for farming a couple of minutes with us on it, felt okay. I don't know how to feel about animal usage here because it's a farm animal, but also, you know, my feelings were conflicted, but it was a fun experience. And the buffalo had just the absolute beautiful ones. Farming with the buffalo was really cool. His strength is something else. You can just feel it through the plow. He is over 600 kgs after all, and mass moves mass. And it was very unique experiencing farming being done by hand, not by machinery. And we were off to see the fishing areas. As we biked around, there was a bunch of ponds that we saw along the roads, and our guide told us those were actually the remainders of bomb craters that were further dug out and filled with water to be used as a fish/shrimp farm. He told us about how his grandmother died in a tunnel hiding from the bombing when the tunnel collapsed with 2 of her daughters. He also told us that the reason for the basket boats that are pretty unique to this area/Vietnam are shaped the way they are because it is a basket. They don't have to pay taxes compared to a normal boat, which used to be a case back in the day. The basket boats are made with weaved bamboo, tree sap, and buffalo chocolate. If you can work out what buffalo chocolate is, please let me know. Boat ride itself was very pleasant, slow and quiet. Loved the relaxing feel of it, and also tried to catch a crab or two, but had no luck. Then to finish it off, we had a spinning time on the boat. I'm not much for the loud music and dance, but hey, it was a unique experience. The net was also a lot heavier than I thought and took a lot more technique. Also, no fish. and we were then off to lunch. There's a small cooking class with some unique cooking techniques, and again our guide was very, very cool in the way that he led us to make some Instagrammable photos. The food was amazing, and our guide taught us about how he hires disabled people to help them out at his business. Turns out where we are is his own business that he started many years ago, and is now a thriving tourism company. There's not much farming or fishing, but it was definitely a great experience and I learned a lot. This was a great day tour, and I recommend the Hoi An village experience if you're here. Ku was an awesome guide and an awesome man who is doing awesome things for his community, and I suggest that you support him if you are ever in the area looking for a fun experience. Our whole time in Hoi An we stayed in a place called Little Library Villa. It's a little ways out of the way from the center, so it's nice and quiet. You could rent a pedal bike from them for free and a motorbike for 120,000 dong a day, with absolutely zero collateral. The host is incredibly kind, and she keeps a list of activities that were recommended by previous stayers. Would totally go back again. There's also the best massage place across the road, and a couple minutes down the road there is a few streets full of local restaurants and cafes. The food is always amazing, and I will miss having such an easy access to these kind of cheap, beautiful food. On our last day we had to go to the bank to exchange some USD that we brought into dongs as we were running out of money. We both had like 50 or so US dollars left, so may as well blow it while we were here for the last couple of days. Something that I've noticed in Vietnam is that it's almost all independent shops, mostly small family-owned businesses. A rather capitalistic approach for a communist country, I thought. The rain came and we had to take shelter. Looks like Da Nang is celebrating their sister cities. That's pretty cool. The temple next to the Cham Museum was awesome. It was small but had intricate carvings and was even more brilliant than some temples in Thailand. The museum was also packed full of goodies. On the first floor there's a lot of archaeological backgrounds and not as much history. The artifacts are incredibly preserved and there is no glass for any treasure hunt. People wanting to take photos. The carvings are intricate and the placards explain them well. Though do listen to the free audio guide for more context or get a guide yourself. It's also cool to see the things that were missing from the My Son site when we visited. I felt that there was a lot more context of the Cham people that I learned about here compared to what I learned about in My Son. I do wish there was a bit more written about the Khmer and the Cham relationship, as I could make some connections between what I learned in my time in Cambodia. The museum was really worth it for the 60,000 dongs we paid, compared to 12 USD for the museum in Siem Reap. It was way more bang for buck. Stopped for lunch at a place that sells Ban Trang Thi Gio Gyon Do. What did I write here? Jesus. Again, a place that sells pretty much only one thing on the menu. It's crispy pork with rice paper for you to wrap it in. It was incredibly filling for how much meat there was, which there wasn't much. But there was a lot of veggies, so we were stuffed. Then a quick stroll down to the nearby shop for some coconut chocolate coffee later. Then we went off to learn more about the war and Ho Chi Minh at the museum with his namesake. When you go to the Ho Chi Minh Museum, it's 60,000 dongs for the museum, but I'm pretty sure to walk around the outside it's free. On the outside are some captured American vehicles and Vietnamese vehicles that were used in the war. If you haven't seen them in person, it definitely is cool to see them in real life. Being a bit of a military nerd, I did geek out a bit. The main museum has a bit of a weird layout. However, it goes through the modern history of Vietnam. It goes from the French colonial period, their resistance, to the modern Vietnam War that we know. It's pretty sobering, seeing the suffering of the Vietnamese people through their eyes, through the French colonial period and the wars. The perspective is different, What you're taught in school about Vietnam is just different. I learnt a hell of a lot more from here. The Korean involvement, the Vietnam involvement in the Khmer Rouge, and so on. It's worth a visit even if it's just to see the cool vehicles. I was thinking Ho Chi Minh Museum didn't have enough about Ho Chi Minh, but in the back there is a meticulously kept garden and pond that is the Ho Chi Minh part. There is a shrine to him and his whole life story. Uncle Ho, as people called him, it seems. It was very interesting learning about his life. Then lastly we were off to get some food. On my last morning in Vietnam, I got myself a haircut, a shave, exfoliation, massage, and all for 250,000 dongs. My god, was it a good cut and a shave? My face genuinely feels like a baby's butt, and the entire experience was incredibly relaxing. He gets in there with a razor and cleans up your cut, and when you get pampered for like 2 hours with a face mask on, yeah, I kinda get why women have beauty days now. Our whole time in Da Nang, we stayed at Suntory Hotel and Spa. It was clean, room service was awesome, and there was a new flavor of pho and other breakfast items every day. The receptionist is friendly and the location is central enough, but just enough away from the main center to be too noisy. The rooftop swimming pool is also cool with a pretty nice view, and they also offer motorcycles for rental. Though with the weather I didn't get one. It's good to see though. I would stay again. Also, the nearby Elsa massage place gave us an amazing full body massage. Unlike the other shops, they don't ask you for a tip. But anyway, that was my story in Vietnam. I hope you enjoyed, and let me know what your favorite part was. I hope you have a great day. Peace.